job. And I think it has helped both the big programs in the state because of that. Because I can tell you right now, high school football in South Carolina, while it might not be Texas or California, it has really good coaching in this state. And they turn out for, what do we got, 4 million people in the state? We turn out.
3 million, 3.5.
Okay.
3 million, 3.5.
Okay, so we turn out most years our fair share of D1 prospects. Last year was down a little bit, I think, but we turn them out.
It's usually 20 to 25.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to stock a Division I roster just recruiting the state of South
Sure not.
Carolina.
No.
But, yeah, I mean, Georgia used to come across and get some. Tennessee would get into this area. Notre Dame used to recruit this area pretty heavily. But no, I don't say the borders are closed, but with South Carolina and the SEC and Clemson having won 10 games 4 years in a row, it's pretty hard to get them out of here. And Clemson's coaching staff is grounded in the state of South Carolina. There's a lot. They've got several guys on the staff. Jeff Scott. The guys that have coached in South Carolina or been around South Carolina a long time.
Well, Pierman is one.
Yeah, Pierman.
And a lot of those coaches on the Clemson staff have been here a long time, even under another regime, and they have coached here. Some of them have lived here so long, and it has made a big difference in their contacts with the high schools. And let me tell you something. Brad Scott does not hurt you when you're kind of flirting with the high school coaches either.
Robbie Caldwell's from Pageland.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm looking right quick.
Where's Brooks from?
Dan Brooks is from Sparta, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. That's still close.
Yeah, close enough. Pierman is from doesn't say where Pierman's from.
Well, Pierman played here, coached here 2 different times.
Yeah.
So
he's been around.
Yeah.
And of course, Jeff Scott's been was with his dad at South Carolina, played at Clemson, coached 1 year high school football, won the state championship.
One undefeated, yeah.
And moved on.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be difficult. And then Clemson's got an advantage being 2 hours from Atlanta, the Atlanta area. They seem to add a high school. Seem to add a half a dozen high schools in the Atlanta area every year.
Yeah.
New names pop up. A lot of football players, but Georgia's a tough fight. Georgia Tech, even though they have a system they recruit to, you still got to deal with them. So it's always been competitive in this area recruiting. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's much more attractive for a football player to stay home these days than it is to go off somewhere else.
Okay, let's move on now to Clemson. I know you made a trip up there today. Oh, we didn't. No, we didn't. Okay, you got it there?
I don't have it.
Oh, well, that's the wrong one.
Not in,
no.
It's not what
I had it in my hands.
You can't dial it up on your computer.
Well, I'm afraid I'll cut the whole deal off if I do. You know?
I need their schedule.
Well, they play people in the East. Then they play 2 out of the West. So we know they play South Carolina and Tennessee and Florida. Yeah.
They got Alabama this year.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do, trying to win the East.
I think Auburn's on the road. They got Tech on the road.
As if that mattered.
But again, it's going to be, I would anticipate Chubb right, Chubb left. Their defense should make another step forward this year. Georgia looks like a 10-win team.
Yeah, there are many people picking them to win the East, and others who have picked them to win that conference.
Yeah. Well,
So,
And Mark Richt's going to have to do it pretty soon, or folks down there are going to demand a change. I mean, he is, in my mind, Georgia's Tommy Bowden. He manages to somehow. The Florida game last year was a perfect example. They should have gone to Jacksonville and just beat Florida pillar to post.
Yes.
And it turned out the other direction. Florida just lined up and ran over them and didn't look like they even wanted to be there. So, and then you blow the Georgia Tech game by doing a squib kick when, if you kick it deep, 99, your odds are 99-1 that Tech's not going to even come close to getting in the field goal position.
Yeah.
So there's been some questionable decisions, but Rick has been very successful. If they do decide to ever cut him loose, if he wants to continue coaching, I'm sure he'll find a job somewhere because
very quickly.
He has a very, very good record. But Georgia is got quarterback issues, whether whether Lambert is the answer or not, who knows? And how do you deal with bringing a guy in the off season and putting him ahead of guys who've been in the program?
Well, that happened. There are at least 3 schools that's happened to that we can, off the top of our head.
Well, Everett Golston
Golston and of course I mentioned Chad Kelly.
Clemson ends up at Clemson. Even if Golston if Golston had stayed at Notre Dame, they'd have probably seen him.
Had to play him anyway.
To Florida State, they're going to see him anyway.
That's right.
But again, I think Georgia's a 10-win team. Whether they win the East or not, who knows? The East looks like a free-for-all right now, and you can't pick Missouri, even though Missouri will probably be right there. I don't know who you pick.
Well, Georgia, Tennessee appear to be the teams that
appear to
the
be,
so-called pundits
but
are picking you.
If McElwain can find a way to soup up Florida's offense, he's an offensive guy. Florida played good enough defense last year, so they just need to score some points. The East should be in the West, you can talk about Alabama, you can talk about Auburn, you can talk about LSU. I don't know, Mississippi State, I'm kind of got them second tier. A&M, if A&M's defense is better, Sumlin's going to have...
They're going to beat some people.
Sumlin's going to have some offense. He's going to score enough points to beat some people. So, and these days and times, that's the way the game is now. It's turned into... defense wins championships, but it has turned into some Saturday afternoons you're just going to have to line up and make the scoreboard click and end up scoring more points than the other guy. I mean, we'll see some basketball type scores just because
sure we will.
Of the way these offenses are souped up now.
Yeah,
and when the defenses get control of the spread and the read option, I don't know. I don't know what they do, but I guess the next evolution will be a return to the wishbone or the veer or something to control the ball and run the ball. And
see, to me now that what they're running is the single wing.
It is, and I talked to Rich Rodriguez about that many years ago and at a press conference about how his offense had a lot of single wing principles, and but it's fun to watch. And Clemson has been working at a fast pace, and I know that they want to win. They want to get 80+ plays a game, so we'll see. If Deshaun Watson remains healthy and everybody, that's all I can talk about.
Biggest question mark of the
he's going to get hurt. Should he run? Should he not run?
He should just play his game.
Play the freaking game.
That's right.
And
I think that's what they intend.
If he and then get Kelly Bryant some snaps of some games get out of control, and I think that's probably going to be their plan.
Dabo said today that right now Schussler is well ahead of Bryant and is the number 2 quarterback. That was an article in TigerNet today. Now, is he pulling our leg?
They also told us last year that help me.
Stout was way ahead.
Stout was the starting quarterback when it was pretty obvious. And they put number 4 in the game that number 4 was so far ahead of it. They just couldn't hide it. The only way they could hide it was to keep number 4 on the sideline. And and so that ain't happening this year. He is the man. A lot of expectations. Again, I think the expectations at Clemson are a little wacky,
a little bit high.
They always are. A lot high, but I'm guessing 8 to 10 wins. I was listening coming over here. Beret was on the radio. They got 40 freshmen, which is not the most. They had 42 when they won their last ACC championship. They also threw out there that the number 29, and keep this in mind, is scary, but number 29 is not a good number in Clemson athletic history. Clemson has won 29 straight against the football championship series. And most of them by double digits. Of course, the closest one they had was against Wofford. The last time Wofford came to Death Valley.
That was 81.
Yeah. No, not 81.
It wasn't 81?
It was 4 years ago.
Yes, it was. 30, you're right. Right. Okay.
30, let's see, 2011, I believe, was that game. And it was, it was 35-27, and it was 21 all at the half. But he mentioned Clemson basketball once won 29 in a row at Littlejohn and lost.
He comes up.
Pender Murphy, who played tennis at Clemson, won 29 matches in a row.
But Tim is not real when it comes.
Clemson baseball team had a home winning streak of 29 games.
Why did he come up with this, Cobb?
They once had a winning streak of 29 in a row. Baseball did 29 in a row against Furman and lost. They've never been able to get to 30. So don't just don't panic Saturday if they can get to 30
and break the trend.
Then it'll break a trend that is apparently very difficult to break in Clemson. Oh, I know the other one. Clemson had won 29 in a row against the University of Virginia.
Yes,
and lost.
Mr. Hatfield was the first one.
That number 29 runs throughout Clemson athletics, and haven't been able to get the 30th win in a row. So Saturday. I mean, Wofford. They're going to be pesky. They're going to be
tough. They're going to be hard.
They run up. They run a Times Square, people all over the place going in different directions. Offense. In the backfield, you gotta watch the ball, and you gotta play your responsibility. And they won't throw it. They might throw a long one every once in a while just to keep you from sneaking up too much. But athletically, Clemson should have the numbers,
bigger and faster.
Should have the depth, so should get that one. App State found their quarterback midway through the season last year. They won their last 6, I believe. I don't know if they're back to App State standards, but they did end up having a winning season last year. So that'll be a nice little game, but you got to think you're going to be 2-0. And then I think comes the biggest challenge of of the season. Well, it could be. I say the biggest challenge of September.
The next 2.
You get 5 days to prepare for a road trip to Louisville, and you really only get 4 because if you're the visiting team, you got to hit the road, and they'll have a blackout, and Petrino will have something cooked up for you. The only thing you got to rest on there is that they lost a good bit on defense. They 6 guys drafted in the National Football League, and they didn't get to see much of Watson last year. So that could be dangerous. And then you get 18 days off.
That's horrible. Horrible.
It is horrible, and it's the longest. Again, Tim Beret